嗨，大家好，我是丽娜。今天这一集人类学系列呢，我要采访的是我在去年在剑桥应该算是我最好的朋友了吧，他叫 Ariane，然后他的那个中文名叫做小凤，他非常的有趣，就是我个人觉得他完全就是一个超国际化的人，这句话不是在开玩笑，是因为他真的非常的国际化。他的母语是法语、英语还有波斯语，然后他也会说中文跟日文。他小时候在这个法国出生，然后爸妈是伊朗人，然后他小时候在北京生活过2年，在上海生活过8年，然后到中学的时候又到日本生活过5年，然后日本结束之后呢，他又到美国宾夕法尼亚大学读的本科，结束之后他又在纽约的投行工作了2年，做的是金融，之后就到了剑桥来读社会人类学。在毕业之后呢，他就搬到了伦敦，然后他现在在这个伦敦的一个最好的一个法学院读法律，然后他大概会再读2年吧，读完2年之后，他应该就会是那种你想象当中的那个女法官。就这么说吧，我觉得他的简历就真的是属于那种别人家的孩子那种简历。因为我们2个现在都在英国隔离，所以我们的采访就只能用视频进行，但我觉得视频也没办法阻挡他的美。我们一起来看采访吧。
Yeah, we're on camera. Welcome to Lina's Anthropology class. You speak Chinese, right?
一点儿，
马马虎虎。
对，我的中文不错。
你的中文名字是什么呀？
我的中文名字是小凤，因为我是龙凤胎。
小凤，你可以给大家介绍一下你自己吗？
你好，我是小凤，我是法国和伊朗人。我小的时候住过在中国，现在上海2年，以后在北京8年。中国以后我去日本，我在日本住过5年。对不起。
你在日本生活了5年。
对，我在日本生活了5年，以后我去了去了？
对，去了。
对，我去了美国，在美国学习大学，在美国的大学学习finance 和 international relations，以后在一个bank 工作了2年，以后我去 Cambridge
剑桥。
跟你一起学习 Anthropology。我遇到了我的很漂亮和很聪明的姐姐，我最喜欢的好朋友。
对。It's so weird. I'm talking to you in Chinese. To talk to you about anthropology, the reason being is I think both of us, we had such a very similar backgrounds because when I was in the US, I did my undergrad in business at USC, and you also did your undergrad in business in Wharton Business School, and somehow we both ended up in social anthropology department. Can I ask first, like, very simple question? What is anthropology? Because I know there are millions of definitions of anthropology. But what is anthropology for you?
I think anthropology is the study of people and societies, and it's quite interdisciplinary. So in the end, you're kind of looking at the social and psychological factors that influence how people make decisions. But the main thing that distinguishes anthropology from something like sociology, for example, is that it's very narrow in its scope. So you're looking at groups of people in a much more smaller defined category than sociology, which generalizes people a bit more. And I think that aims to avoid stereotyping or generalizations and really tries to emphasize what made this specific group of people act the way that they act, or what social factors influence this specific group of people as opposed to other groups of people.
It kind of sounds the opposite of what sociology is doing, right? Sociology is like categorizing people into A, B, C groups. But as you said, anthropology is kind of trying to clarify. It's not trying not to generalize people, but look at a specific group of people and how to break down those stereotypes.
Yes. I think that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the main differences, so I have some debates with friends who've studied evolutionary anthropology, and often we come from different perspectives because evolutionary anthropologists tend to attribute a lot of variation to genetic factors or evolutionary factors, while anthropologists tend to attribute a lot of issues or differences to social reasons. So it kind of becomes a nature versus nurture distinction. And I think anthropology often emphasizes the nurture, and evolutionary anthropology often emphasizes the nature. But the reality is it's obviously a combination of both. And I think for me, what's interesting is the nurture, because we know that there are evolutionary differences. So then beyond that, what are the social differences? And I think that's what makes me quite interested in social anthropology.
Are you sure you didn't prepare the answers? You sound like very prepared. And going back to the point about we both did business, and what made you decide to study anthropology, make a switch?
So I studied finance and international relations at Penn. It was an honors program, and it was 2 degrees at the same time. And in order to do those 2 degrees at the same time and graduate in 4 years, I had to take a lot of requirements and classes that like intersected between those topics. 2 classes I took throughout my 4 years at Penn that influenced me the most. When I was thinking back about what I enjoyed at Penn, I realized that the intersecting factor between the 2 was that they were both related to anthropology. So one of them was a medical anthropology class. That just honestly, it was the first time that it made me think about things in a different way, and kind of think about voyeurism or the perception that we have on something. The second class was Emerging Economies, which was a legal studies class at Wharton, so in the business school. And the teacher had studied law and anthropology. So I realized that anthropology was the similar factor in both, first of all. And then second of all, I wanted to study law, and I knew that I was interested in human rights. And so I was really interested in my professor who had taught us emerging economies and his combined study of law and anthropology. So I thought that it would offer like a really strong background to help me as I endeavored to go into human rights law.
I think it really reminds me of, I also took, business degree. You have to take those finance and accounting or statistics classes. And those are not easy classes, as you know, right? It's still very hard. But I feel like when I was learning those classes, I was more like learning to apply those formulas. As you said, like never give me an opportunity to rethink a lot of the things I took for granted. So it's difficult, but it's very in a different way. So I'm
exactly
sure
it was a lot of learn these equations, memorize how I solved one problem, and then do the same thing on the exam day. I think my brain, I just wasn't as passionate about it. I think social anthropology, the interdisciplinary nature of it is it's fascinating, and this is the way you see it applicable in your daily life and how it makes you think.
Yeah, totally. Now I see everywhere. It's like power is everywhere.
yeah it is. It's politics, power, gender. It's like, gender, there are evolutionary differences between men and women. That's why more women do soft sciences and men do STEM studies. The West is kind of like more progressed, so they give you an example of where China and the East would be if they were more progressed and more equal. And I'm like, that's not true. Like, we have no idea if that's true. You can't just say like, oh, the West is the ideal that Iran and China are trying to aspire to. And then like kids, when they're when they're growing up, like girls, their toys are really sedentary. So we're playing with like Barbies and stuff. We're sitting down, we're not really moving. Boys, their toys are really like active and dynamic. So she will say like, oh, when we were hunter-gatherers, men learned to hunt, and then their spatial awareness got so much better than women. And I'm like, that was years ago. There was no technology. Women couldn't multitask. Someone had to stay home. And like things have changed so much since then that even if there are genetic differences, which obviously there are, like the social factors are such a big influence. And like clearly when you're looking at the present and the future, it's the social factors that are more like useful to analyze. Like what's the use of reminding us that like gender differences do exist? That's the best argument for sexism over and over and over again. You're like, oh, women, they're too frail, they can't study. Like, oh, women, they shouldn't drive. Oh, women, they're too capricious, they shouldn't be female judges. Like, it's such a, like, that's not a productive argument.
So people have no idea, like if I study anthropology, what can you do with anthropology? So I know we have so many articles who are kind of on different paths. So for you, what are you thinking about your future career after learning anthropology?
So since I graduated from social anthropology, I've been studying law. I'm actually really glad that I studied social anthropology last year because I found it really intellectually stimulating and it kind of got me excited and back on track to study. And now I'm back into a more pre-professional mindset again. I want to do law and I want to do human rights law. And the reason I thought social anthropology would be important was because in a lot of careers these days, and especially in the law, if you're doing like contract law, there's an effort to dehumanize everything to make it more efficient and practical and kind of one-size-fits-all strategies. But I thought that social anthropology would give me this kind of more comprehensive perspective and a critical way of thinking about things and tackling issues from different standpoints rather than just kind of this one-size-fits-all policy. In terms of the career options for someone who studies social anthropology, I think that the research skills that it offers can be highly transferable to think tanks, to working at research institutions, to working in NGOs, of course to doing a PhD. Actually, there's a lot of technology firms that are these days hiring social anthropologists because they're trying to understand their demographics and future customers better. So there are quite a lot of options. It kind of depends on what you're interested in doing. Another option is working in museums.
Yeah, definitely. And
writing books. We have some ex-Cambridge grads who've written really amazing books. It gives you a really interesting lens on things and perspective on people. We're becoming famous YouTube bloggers.
Soon to be. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
You're welcome, Tite. Let's make anthropology great again.
今天的人类学系列伊朗篇就到这里，欢迎大家关注剑桥人类学系列。